like to thank you first of all for joining us today for the SolidCAD Meridian presentation around how to gain some control over concurrent engineering. My name is Chris Chapman. I'm the Industry Account Manager in Canada for Concurrent Solutions. And speaking shortly will be Daniel Isaac, our technical consultant, and Concurrent Solutions as well. So I think we'll go ahead, and I think we're just at 2 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start off. There we go, agenda. Before I go any further, just so everyone's aware, you should have been warned when you were entering, but we are recording the session, so we will share that link afterwards as well with anyone. In case there's any technical glitches on your end viewing, you should have a clean copy of that to review it at your leisure. So let's take a look at the agenda. We're going to run through some introductions. Pretty much there on that one. We'll go through the Meridian platform, just so you have a bit of a background on the solution that we offer. We'll talk about concurrent engineering, the challenges, options, solution, and then we'll walk through what the resolution to that might look like for you. So I'll give you a bit of background. SolidCAD's a cancel company. We've been in operation 25 years. We have offices across Canada in 8 different provinces, and we offer services in both French and English. We're an official Concurrent and AutoCAD partner in Canada. We have a great relationship with them, and we've been doing business with many organizations in Canada with these two, both Autodesk and Concurrent, and as you'll see, many other solutions. We focus on design, manage, and share, so helping organizations with design tools, laser scanning, the aggregation of data. They all kind of fall on the design side. Managing, should be able to find and access your data easily and securely, use that with compliance options. And then sharing, obviously, you want to interact with all the different partners on your projects, ensure everyone's in the loop on that. So that's sort of what we do as an overview. Here's some of the companies that we have within Cancel. I'll focus a little bit on Effigus, the geospatial data company. We've actually, in our space, seen interest in combining that GIS information into both documentation and assets so that that can be leveraged out in the field. And that's something. Other than that, we also get involved with survey equipment, scanning, as I mentioned, CAD software, and all the training and consulting around that. These are the typical industry segments that you would see us in. Meridian's typically in things like plant, manufacturing, really any organization that's has critical assets that you want to align documentation to and manage that documentation change processes. We offer custom training, and we also do open enrollment for solutions. So we usually go through that. On the Concurrent side, the training typically is customized a little bit to your organization. So we'll work through that as part of the process as to what your needs are. Just a little bit of background on Concurrent. You know, really we have a methodology with Concurrent. They offer software in a number of different areas. From our standpoint, you know, our typical interaction with a customer starts with a needs analysis. We create an implementation plan, develop some training, then we provide support. We also typically would be looking to align that documentation with assets, with enterprise, with a asset management system or a CMMS system, so that that can be leveraged out to the field, or often SAP or one of the other ERP systems comes into play as well. So we can take our documentation and align that with your critical applications as well. Concurrent themselves has been around about the same time frame. They work a lot in the facilities and people management space. So typically, as you'll see in the next slide, they're involved in managing documentation, people, facilities. Got over 10,000 customers, 1,400 team members across the globe, and we're included in that extended partner network. Here's some of the spaces that Concurrent fits into. Anything from budgeting, facilities, managing energy. So typically around some of your high ticket items within your costs on your balance sheet. Where we play is we're specific to the Meridian solution. As well, we also are partners around the maintenance connection solution. So that's one of the top leading solutions out there, very well regarded, shares information to the field, allows for proactive maintenance practices. So that's enough about us. Let's go into a little bit what the background of what the platform looks like. So what is Meridian? Meridian, it's managing engineering documentation. And I'm going through this just so you have a bit of background information around what you'll see later as far as the resolution on it. We are managing documentation, including drawings, equipment documents. We manage them throughout the life cycle of the project and align them with assets. Captures all the changes through design process, tracks them so that they're reportable, and then you can assure yourself that nothing's going to fall through the cracks. Manages collaboration both internally and externally. Today, we'll primarily focus on the internal processes. For external partners, there is a portal that's available, manages all the passing of data between your engineering partners. If you're unfamiliar with that, we'd be happy to take 30 minutes and explain that in a separate session. And of course, we want to tie all this back into your, as I mentioned, to your asset management system. If you're not familiar, again, how that works, we're a separate session. We won't have time today to go into that. But as far as the asset information requirements, here's a look at the Explorer system. It's a web-based find, view, and markup tool. It allows engineering and maintenance to run off the same documents. It allows hierarchical views of your data and allows users to rapidly view the documents they need to do their job. Through that relationship, we want to connect assets and equipment. If you're not familiar with how that works, again, another session. And now let's provide a bit of an overview what the Meridian components are, and just so you have a foundation around that system. Dan, can you take a look at that and please take the helm?
Sure, will do. Let me bring up my screen for everybody. There we go. So as you can see on this particular slide, it's an overview of the Meridian solution, all the different key components. On the left here, we have Meridian Analytics, really a bird's eye view of your Meridian installation to see what sort of progress is making on all your technical documents, see all the different data behind it, see how effectively it's being used, and the quality of data as well. Another important piece is the Meridian Explorer. Meridian Explorer is your read-only interface into Meridian itself. So this is where you have really powerful search tools to go into the different technical documents and all the surrounding metadata around them. This gives you the ability to find everything quickly, even if you don't know exactly where something resides. As long as you have some piece of information, you can use their search capability to get in there. Today's star of the show, as you'll see, is the Meridian Power Client, which is actually where your engineers, your document controllers, anybody editing documents will live and work. So this is really going to be the key piece that we explored during the concurrent engineering portion of today's webinar. A few bonus pieces here. The Meridian portal, that's your online cloud-based platform for sharing documents to external entities such as contractors. It's fully controlled. There's a full review process against it with a lot of functionality around there, so you can get documents back into your Meridian solution that are really confirmed correct and accurate. Meridian Mobile, an IoT application. I believe it's available on Apple and Android stores, as well as Microsoft. This gives you the ability to go on site and actually download offline documents, anything regarding a particular, for example, an asset. If you're looking for documentation around it on the maintenance side, you can use the Meridian mobile app to pull all that down, as well as actually go through the approval and rejection process on the mobile application. It's also got a really neat quirk where you're able to scan asset tags like actual QR codes to bring up all the corresponding documentation. The application can be installed on-premise. This is our most typical installation, as well as Concurrent offers a cloud-based solution as well, which is hosted in Azure. This is a screenshot of the actual Meridian Power interface. We'll be going into this directly in a little bit of a demo later. But just to give you an idea where it sits, this is the interface primarily used by engineers, designers. All changes are fully tracked within the Meridian vaults. And the important part for today is the master and project relationship. So you'll see the master and project folders here within the actual vault itself. And the way we kind of explore the concurrent engineering focus is by creating copies of those as-built master documents, but I'll get into that a little later down the line. Here's a little sneak peek, if you will, into that solution and the way that it tracks master documents and project copies. It's fully tracked, as well as all the state and information around those documents. This is the Meridian portal solution, as I was referring to earlier. So this is where you would actually, for transmittal packages out to external entities, you can actually send that out for a full review process across all these, which we highlight in this slide. You can see that there's different documents available and the state they're in terms of a workflow process. Everything's customizable. You can see the state of everything, as well as who is involved with this particular review. A nice thing about Portal and the rest of the software package is the ability to do markup and comments. So you have the ability to actually use a PDF rendition of a technical drawing and overwrite that with actual comments and documents. You can actually put red lines all over it if something needs to be changed and share that with external entities as well as the internal users. All right, Chris, do you want to cover the SAS options?
Yeah, sure thing. I just wanted to highlight for everyone on the call that there are a few options as far as implementation. There is on-premise, but just so you're aware, there is a SaaS version as well. Meridian Cloud is available on Azure. Single sign-on is an option. Some ISO certification there. Obviously, SaaS helps on the hardware infrastructure and backup side, providing those as part of that service. The updates and enhancements are all automatically done for you, and there's 24/7 support and pre-configured industry best practices all available within that option of implementation. And so let's move on now to concurrent engineering. A little bit about what the challenges are. Obviously everyone has a goal of trying to juggle all these diverse challenges throughout large-scale projects. They're often made up of multiple complex teams, which gets even more complex when you're dealing with across multiple locations. Each team has its own goals, timelines, and that can create competing needs. So the question becomes, how do you manage concurrent change by prioritizing, tracking it, reporting on it, and enforcing it? Let's face it, nobody wants to wait to get their part done. So you can end up with some rogue players from time to time, but how do you control that and make sure that ultimately the business doesn't suffer through things like information lost in changes, lost documentation itself, possible health and safety issues, and even lost downtime. Like we've seen incidents in some companies where they've got incorrect documentation that was put in, it wasn't verified properly, didn't go through the proper workflows. It's created ongoing issues for things like wrong repair parts put into projects. So all kinds of things that can go wrong in there. But the question, I guess, is how do you control that? It definitely would help lower your operational cost if you can gain control over that. And obviously, there's a lot of things in there: profitability, company reputation. So really, there's a lot at stake. So why don't we, Dan, you can take it over and walk us through the solution.
Sounds good. So what is concurrent engineering in relationship to the Meridian solution? And really at its core, it's that master and project relationship that I kind of shown you in that screenshot before. So essentially you have one as-built document that can actually be checked out under multiple projects at the same time, giving you the ability to work in parallel across those. Meridian maintains all the relationships between these versions, so you understand the state that each document is in, who has it checked out, as well as the workflow state. So all of that is fully tracked, and that's really handy to actually get you accurate and up-to-date changes. Again, having that ability to go parallel on making changes to different projects, it enables collaboration to ensure accurate engineering and project updates. So what's the alternative to concurrent engineering? And that's working very serially. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, as it's generally the standard process. A very simple check-in and check-out process. So one person takes an as-built file, checks it out, starts making a change, and applies a workflow against that. And nobody can touch that master unless the current project or the current revision is actually merged with that master file. So really just serial, one at a time. And this makes a lot of sense in a lot of different scenarios. People that particular files or projects that really need stringent control around them, this is perfectly acceptable and a great way to actually maintain that full control. But for people that want to move a little bit faster, concurrent engineering makes a lot of sense. So essentially, Meridian supports what organically happens in your organization and puts controls in place. So that can be either if you work serially or you want to start working in parallel with concurrent engineering. Obviously, it enables more agile work processes. It follows that ability to do parallel work to get you faster engineering and design processes through the actual pipeline. And the nice thing is the increased visibility to in-flight process and next steps. Because everything is tracked, all the states are available on a particular document or technical drawing or project or series of documents. You can actually see exactly what state it's in, regardless if there's multiple project copies, and also the relationship of those project copies to the master. But that's enough slides. I think we're starting into the solution itself. And let me just stop my share and I'll get to a bit of a demonstration for you.
Still there, Dan?
Yep. Sorry, are you not able to see the display? Well,
No.
let me fix that right away, guys.
Okay, just if you have any questions or answers, I should have mentioned that, feel free to put them in the Q&A session. We'll try to get to them at the end. I think we're going to run real tight to 2:30, but we'll get to what we can, and then we'll let follow up afterwards with any questions.
For today's webinar, I'm using the Concurrent cloud-hosted solution for the walkthrough, but again, Meridian can be installed on-premise and is commonly done so. This is the Power Web interface and today's star of the show. So I just want to call your attention to the left side of the screen. This is the folder view. It's essentially breaking down the key root folders within this particular vault. As you can see, there's archive, documentation, masters, projects, and tags. If you do any sort of asset tag management, that's available as well. But in particular importance for today's webinar is the masters and project folders. You'll notice a bunch of subfolders underneath. These subfolders are actually configured in this vault to be created by the metadata behind a particular file. For example, let's just open up the Pennsylvania site as well as the Exton. We're going to open up this architectural discipline, which is again dictated by the document. I'll show you that in a second. And finally, right down to the file itself. So let's highlight the file. I just want to give you a quick overview of what Meridian is capable of. You get a nice thumbnail image of the actual technical drawing here, as well as a bunch of corresponding file information. Another key piece is the metadata collection under the General tab. As you can see here, this is where the metadata is stored against this particular document. You can see Pennsylvania and Exton are actually called out with this particular file, and this is how it gets placed into this folder actually. So if I were to make changes to these metadata properties for this particular file, it would actually move it to a different folder that corresponds to the actual changed metadata. So a really powerful tool. Another key piece of this puzzle is actually renditions. I want to show you that now. So with Meridian, you're able to actually create a PDF rendition or copy of the actual drawing itself for viewing. This can be seen in both the Meridian Power and Explorer interface, as well as all the other mobiles. So this is a great way of avoiding having to buy, for example, an AutoCAD license in this case for every person that just wants to view a document. Because the PDF is automatically created through the actual publisher engine, you're able to utilize that. And not only that, but through the renditions, you're able to actually do markups. You're able to put comments and red lines. So a really powerful tool. But for today, since the focus is concurrent engineering, I want to bring your attention to the master and project copies of this. So this is the key piece of the concurrent engineering discussion today. So you'll see the master, and then you'll see a copy has been made into a project. So I just want to go ahead and walk through that process with you just to show you. I've already kind of pre-created this one to show you some of the changes possible with this, but let's go ahead and do that. So with concurrent engineering, a key piece is actually building multiple copies of the same master. So your as-built document needs to be worked on by multiple people. So this gentleman here, Daniel Isaac, has checked out a copy and has moved into a project. You can actually see the location through this tab. You can see the project ID, you can see the project name, as well as the type and the due person, and also all the information around the modification time. But let's go ahead and check another copy of this out. So this is the master. As you can see, it's placed under here. So we're going to actually go over to the project here. What we want to do is actually create another project copy. But just to walk you through the functionality here, create project copy is what would be used in this concurrent engineering scenario. What it does is essentially makes a copy of the document, leaves it unlocked here. Basically, that gives you the ability to check out another copy of it and puts it into the desired project location. Now, the one below is more for stringent engineering processes. So let's say you don't want anybody else making concurrent changes, and this is a very serial workflow. This is the option you'd use: create project copy and lock. This way you've checked it out into a project copy and the master's locked and cannot be changed at all. So no more project copies from that. But for today, let's go ahead and create another project copy of this. I'm going to use a temporary location here from one of our current gentlemen. So let's go ahead and create that project copy. And as you can see, the master and project copy view has actually been updated here. So it shows the master and then the new actual copy that's produced. And even better than that, it defaults to the new item that you've created here. Okay, now let's actually get down to the one I created earlier. We can actually just utilize this link to get there faster. So here we are. There's the project copy that I created earlier, and I just want to bring up some information here, and you can see it's under change here. So if I go to the workflow diagram, you can actually see exactly what state this technical drawing is, and you have a full view for this. Now you can see here I have the ability to make some changes here, but that's just admin rights thing. This would be locked down typically for most users, unless they're really power users in the document. But you can get a nice quick overview of exactly what state this particular document's in and where it's been through within the actual process itself. Now another really cool feature of the concurrent engineering functionality here is, let's go back to our master and copy view. So I've made changes to my document here. This is the one under Daniel Isaac. And let's say whoever checked out this second item here, Fabio in this case, they want to see what's changed between the two documents. You can actually check them both. You can go to the command that actually shows you the renditions, and you can actually compare the renditions of the two. So once I launch that, it's actually going to take you to that rendition view I showed you earlier, but a little bit different in that it actually shows you the two differences between the documents. which is awesome. So you know exactly what's been changed here. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit to give you a better eye view of it. Okay, so as you can see here, the differences and the additions have been highlighted in green and red. So for my particular document, depending on which you want to bring into focus, it will show you what's been changed. So mine, I actually removed this item. I moved this section of the document over as well. So it gives you an idea of what's changed, and really clearly, really easy to accomplish. And again, you don't need AutoCAD installed to kind of have an idea of the state of that particular document. So let's go back here. So now that I've made changes to this document, I just want to highlight that at this point, you have the ability to go through the complete workflow process and then release it back to master. A cool feature of Meridian is that if changes have been made in a concurrent scenario to the master file, it will notify you that you are not using the latest master essentially with this project copy. And you have the option of making some changes there or doing some checks there. Let me show you this here. Here we go. And just going to clear my selection really quickly here. Let's highlight the actual project copy I want and draw your attention to the top here where you have the ability to bring down this drop down box. Now the state it's in the workflow is not going to allow me to do this, but essentially if changes have been made to the master file and you want to kind of actually release your document into the master file, you have a couple options. You can see confirm merge with master. Basically you've actually added your previous changes into the master file, so it's confirm merged with that particular master, or you can actually select the option to confirm superseded by master, which will kind of disallow your changes at that point. Now, just to highlight this is that this is not automatic, and there does need to be collaboration between the different parties kind of making changes to these two project copies, and that's to ensure that accurate and agreed upon changes are made to the actual master itself, as well as the project copies. But the nice thing is you do get to check if something has been changed, and it's all fully tracked within Meridian. So that is generally what I wanted to show you guys today for the concurrent engineering within Meridian, and I really appreciate you guys coming out. Both Chris and I do, and if you have any questions, please reach out. If we can't cover it during this session, we'll definitely have a quick talk with you, and maybe a quick meetup for half an hour to cover any remaining questions. Thanks all.